We stand at the edge of a financial landscape, a realm of numbers and narratives, where the future feels both tantalizingly close and impossibly distant. In this arena, the siren song of certainty, the allure of a definitive market forecast, whispers promises of control. We crave it, don't we? A clear map, a predictable path, especially when our hard-earned capital is on the line. It's natural to seek order in the apparent chaos, to yearn for a voice that can cut through the noise and declare, this is what will happen. But here lies the subtle danger, the insidious trap. The peril isn't in the act of forecasting itself. That's a tool, a projection, a hypothesis. The true danger lies in the unquestioning asterisk belief asterisk we attach to these forecasts, treating them not as educated guesses, but as immutable truths. They become idols, worshipped by the hopeful and the anxious alike. Today, we're going to peer behind the curtain of these often deceptive illusions. We'll expose the three primary cognitive biases that work insidiously, twisting our perception and corrupting the very forecasts designed to guide us. These aren't just academic concepts. They are powerful forces that can steer your financial decisions onto the rocks, far from the shores of sustainable wealth. Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing, once wisely noted, the intelligent investor is a realist who sells to optimists and buys from pessimists. Think about that. Forecasts, by their very nature, often lean into optimism, painting rosy pictures of future gains. They appeal to our innate desire for things to go well, for our investments to flourish effortlessly. But this very appeal can blind us to fundamental value, to the underlying strength or weakness of an asset, pushing us away from the grounded realism that truly builds lasting wealth. Are you ready to see the mirage for what it is? Let us first confront the recency effect trap, why yesterday's news shapes tomorrow's wealth incorrectly. This bias is deeply human. It's our inherent tendency to place undue weight on recent information, while older, perhaps more foundational, data gets pushed to the periphery. In the realm of market forecasting, this means that the performance of the market just yesterday, or last week, or even last month, disproportionately influences our outlook for the future. We become fixated on the immediate past. Consider how this distorts forecasts. If the market has been on a tear, a recent bull run, recency bias fuels an almost automatic optimism for continued gains. Conversely, a sharp downturn, a period of recent decline, can breed a paralyzing fear of perpetual decline. This creates a dangerous momentum bias, where we chase trends that are already accelerating towards their peak, or conversely, panic out of perfectly good opportunities that have already hit their bottom. We forget about the long, winding road of market cycles, the ebb and flow that has always defined financial history. We've all heard the disclaimer, past performance is not indicative of future results, yet recency bias compels us to act as if it is. The profound danger here is chasing trends that are already peaking, buying at the top, or conversely, panicking out of sound investments just as they are poised for a rebound. We are like a sailor navigating solely by the wake behind the ship, mesmerized by where we've been, rather than by the steady light of the stars ahead. True navigation, true forecasting, requires a much broader perspective, a commitment to understanding the long-term currents. To counter this, implement what I call a data dating system. For every forecast you consider, explicitly note the time frame of the data used. Then, consciously counterbalance that with historical data from different market cycles. Regularly consult long-term fundamental charts, not just the fleeting price action of the last few weeks. This anchors your perspective in something more substantial than yesterday's headlines. Next, we delve into the confirmation bias conspiracy, seeking data that agrees with your forecast. This is perhaps one of the most insidious biases because it feels so rational. It's our psychological tendency to actively search for, interpret, favor, and recall information in a way that confirms what we already believe to be true. Once a forecast, even a subconscious one, takes root, we become detectives looking for evidence to support our pre-existing conclusion. This is how forecasts become corrupted. We gravitate towards news articles, analyst reports, and data points that echo our initial prediction, while conveniently dismissing, downplaying, or outright ignoring any evidence that contradicts it. We build a self-reinforcing echo chamber, a comfortable space where our beliefs are constantly validated, but where the truth often lies outside. We become deaf to dissenting voices, blind to warning signs. But here's the fundamental truth. The best forecasts are those that are rigorously challenged, not merely confirmed. The market is not a simple echo of our initial hunch. It's a complex, dynamic system with countless variables at play. Over-reliance on confirmation creates dangerous blind spots, leaving us vulnerable to risks we refuse to acknowledge. So, how do we shield ourselves? Embrace the devil's advocate exercise. For every forecast you entertain, dedicate an equal amount of intellectual energy to constructing the strongest possible argument asterisk against asterisk it. Actively seek out contrarian viewpoints, data that challenges your assumptions, and solicit critique from diverse perspectives. Think of confirmation bias like wearing polarized sunglasses that only let through light light of a specific color. You see a world that perfectly fits your preconceptions, but you miss the full spectrum of reality, the true, vibrant colors of market dynamics. True insight comes from embracing the whole spectrum, not just the hues we prefer. Let us now turn our attention to the hindsight bias illusion. I knew it all along and its forecasts. This bias is the common feeling that past events were more predictable than they actually were. Once an outcome is known, we tend to believe we had a clearer vision of it all along, even if that wasn't the case at the time. How does this illusion warp our forecasting abilities? It leads us to overestimate the accuracy of our past predictions. We revise our mental models of the past, smoothing out the uncertainties and complexities to align with the known outcome. This creates a powerful illusion of foresight, making us believe we possess a superior ability to predict the future, when in reality, we're just rationalizing what has already happened. This overconfidence is a dangerous companion for any investor. The core myth here is that the market is inherently certain. The truth is, it is a realm of profound uncertainty. Attributing past outcomes to clear foresight conveniently ignores the vast number of unpredictable variables and the fundamentally probabilistic nature of any forecast. This hindsight-fueled overconfidence often leads to taking excessive, uncalculated risks, believing our predictive powers are far greater than they truly are. To combat this, cultivate the practice of maintaining a detailed investment journal. This journal should meticulously record not just your decisions, but crucially, the asterisk rationale and the expected outcomes asterisk at the very moment you made the decision. Regularly revisit these entries. Compare your past self's expectations against the actual results, but focus on the asterisk process asterisk and the asterisk uncertainty asterisk you perceived asterisk at that time asterisk, not just the final, now obvious outcome. Think of hindsight bias as looking at a finished, intricate tapestry and believing you could have perfectly discerned every thread's placement from the very beginning. It simplifies the complex, uncertain act of creation into a seemingly obvious pattern, obscuring the true journey. Now that we've uncovered some of the primary ways our minds can deceive us, let's move to the crucial skill of the forecast. How to use data to see through deceptive predictions. The goal is to move beyond subjective biases and establish a robust, data-driven framework for evaluating any market forecast, regardless of its source. We must become discerning consumers of financial predictions. When scrutinizing a forecast, several key data points demand your attention. First, consider the source's credibility. What is their track record? Have they consistently demonstrated sound judgment, or are they prone to the biases we've discussed? Second, examine a methodology. Is it purely qualitative, relying on anecdotes and intuition, or is it grounded in quantitative analysis with clearly stated assumptions? What is the time frame of the forecast, and how does it align with the underlying economic conditions? This leads us to a proactive bias audit. You must learn to identify the likelihood of recency, confirmation, and hindsight bias in any forecast presented to you. Look at the data being highlighted and the narrative being spun. Is it heavily skewed by recent events? Does it actively dismiss contradictory evidence? Does it present the outcome as inevitable, a product of clear foresight? To operationalize this, develop your own forecast evaluation checklist. For any forecast you encounter, ask these critical questions. What data is presented, and from what period? This checks for recency. Are counter-arguments addressed, or are they conspicuously absent? This probes for confirmation. Is the outcome presented as inevitable rather than probable, a certainty rather than a possibility? This reveals hindsight, and critically, what are the explicit assumptions and the acknowledged risks? Think of it this way. Instead of passively drinking from a well of forecasts, we must learn to build a robust filter. This filter, powered by critical thinking and rigorous data analysis, is what separates the clear, life-giving water of genuine insight from the muddy, deceptive currents of cognitive illusion. Finally, let us discuss beyond the crystal ball, building resilience against forecast fallibility. The ultimate aim here is not to achieve perfect future prediction, a mythical quest, but rather to construct an investment strategy that is inherently robust, capable of withstanding forecast errors and the inevitable volatility of the markets. True financial mastery lies in resilience, not in flawless foresight. This resilience is built upon the bedrock of fundamentals and intrinsic value, principles championed by giants like Benjamin Graham. By deeply understanding the underlying worth of your investments, you create a powerful buffer against the ephemeral noise of short-term forecasts and market sentiment. This focus provides a stable anchor in turbulent seas. Diversification and prudent risk management are also essential, not as a magic solution, but as strategic tools to navigate the inherent uncertainty that surrounds every market prediction. They help ensure that a single erroneous forecast doesn't derail your entire financial journey. The actionable strategy, then, is a fundamental shift in focus. Instead of obsessing over what will the market do next, ask yourself, how can my portfolio perform well well across a wide range of potential market outcomes. This mindset emphasizes deeply understanding your investments, managing risk with discipline, and steadfastly maintaining a long-term perspective, rather than chasing the fleeting allure of the latest, often flawed, forecast. As Warren Buffett wisely articulated, the most important thing to do in investing is to not make big mistakes. Understanding the biases that corrupt market forecasts is a critical, indeed essential, step in avoiding those costly errors and cultivating the true financial resilience that leads to sustainable wealth. We've journeyed through the deceptive landscape of market forecasts, uncovering how the recency effect, confirmation bias, and hindsight bias can subtly yet powerfully corrupt our decision-making. These are not abstract academic concepts, they are the very forces that can steer even the savviest investor towards costly errors. The danger, as we've seen, isn't in the act of forecasting itself, it's a necessary part of navigating uncertainty. The true peril lies in our belief in the infallibility of these forecasts, in treating them as gospel rather than educated guesses. Our exploration has underscored the critical need to embrace a data-driven, deeply critical approach to all market predictions. We must cultivate a habit of questioning everything: the source, the methodology, the timeframe, and most importantly, the underlying assumptions and the inherent biases that may be shaping the narrative. Are we being swayed by what happened yesterday? Are we seeking only data that confirms our hopes? Are we looking back with a false sense of clarity? Remember, our true power as investors does not lie in finding a perfect crystal ball, an infallible oracle of future market movements. That path leads to delusion and disappointment. Instead, our strength is forged in building resilient investment strategies grounded in the unwavering focus on fundamental value, principles championed by the likes of Benjamin Graham, strategies that prioritize robust risk management, ensuring we can weather the inevitable storms and uncertainties. As Warren Buffett wisely advises, it's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price. In the same spirit, it is far better to approach market forecasts with a critical, analytical filter, tempering them with data and robust strategy, than to blindly accept a seemingly perfect forecast that ultimately leads your portfolio down a path of ruin. The forecast's true value is not as a definitive map, but as a compass, offering direction, but always requiring our own critical judgment and disciplined navigation. What will be your compass today?